You are most welcome to the second edition of Let's Build Africa. I'm the host, Norbert Onen II, and here I am having two distinguished, knowledgeable, and well-read gentlemen. To my right is Oscar Kayanja. He's a mechanical engineer, he's a researcher, he's an innovator, he's a Pan-Africanist, he's an entrepreneur. To my left is Job Lazarus Okello. Job Lazarus is a diplomat, he's a scholar, he's a researcher, he's an author, he's an engineer, he's an entrepreneur, and he's a Pan-Africanist. Our topic today is Unity of Africa, a topic that has been echoed from as early as independence. Different leaders, more so the post-independence leaders, Mwalimu Julius Nyerere, Kwame Nkrumah, have been preaching about the same. Other leaders that came later talked about the same. And still up to now, the current leaders have also been having the same effort to enforce that. One distinguished gentleman in Africa was moved all over the globe and within Africa, preaching about unification of Africa is Patrice Lodge Otieno Lumumba. Now, I want to reach my two visitors, starting with Oscar Kayanja. From these other different people that have talked about unity in Africa, what do you understand by unity in Africa?
In my own understanding, the unity of Africa starts from an Africa that is under one government, an Africa that's under one control, one supreme leadership, led by one president, having a common currency, an Africa that has a common military force, so that mainly the president and one president of the government is aimed at ensuring that there is rule of law across the entire Africa. The common currency is just targeted to harmonize the economy, okay? And I think a unified Africa is an Africa which is borderless, away from the borders of the former colonial powers which they left when they had demarcated. A unified Africa where all countries which were used to be landlocked are actually having free access, open access to the nearby water bodies without any restrictions. The unification or unifying of Africa is something that's not a dream that can never be attained. It's something attainable, and I'm sure as we go ahead in this show, we are going to dissect some of these issues to point out why I personally think that it can be attainable.
Job Lazarus, Oscar has his take on unity of Africa. How different is it from yours?
So I believe in order for us to unite Africa, we need to have a common purpose. Because unity is only possible where we have a common purpose. What brings us all together? As long as we have nothing that can bring us together, we can never unite.
What could make a good agenda for the common purpose?
We need to define what we want in the different aspects of life. It is the former president of the US who said, Ronald Reagan said, America does what is in our best interest. Now, when you look at Africa, what is the best interest of Africa? Which leader does the best interest of Africa? So we need to define our best interests in different areas. In education, what do we want as Africa? In politics, what do we want as Africa? In business, in social aspects, in all aspects of life. So when we define, we need to, in our agenda as Africa, we need to define what we want in different aspects of life. Only when that is done, then we can come together to pursue those interests, those common interests.
Getting to my brother Oscar, what accounts for the disunity of Africa?
And in my own humble opinion, I think that it's attributed by so many factors. But some of the few I may point out, one of them is that the disunity of Africa has been there maybe before colonial times, how there has been different ethnic groups, ethnicities, some divisions according to ethnicities. Earlier, kingdoms used to create territories, and in that they used to clash with force to win over territories, and in that case it would bring some form of disunity, and it can be considered as a form of disunity. But at a later moment, the top leaders would actually negotiate and come to a constructive agreement and would resolve their own issues at home or within that region. So currently, disunity in Africa, I think it's far away from what it used to be then, because at the moment, Africa is disunited in several ways. That is to say, it is disunited due to political, partisan politics. Partisan politics whereby you find in one country there are several political parties that are dividing.
Before going to politics,
Yes, please.
you account for differences in ethnicity of the past.
Yes.
And you are telling us we need to reach one language, one currency. A country like Uganda has about 56 ethnic groups.
Yes.
A country like South Sudan has about 30 ethnic groups, each with its own language. Now, how are we going to get a common language for Africa?
There have been attempts to use Kiswahili as one common language for Africa. And in that, according to some research, around 140 million Africans currently can speak that language. But that's on a scale of around 1.2 billion Africans. In my own home country, we used to study that Kiswahili. And we used to study that Swahili from elementary class up to around the 4th grade. But out of nowhere, it was scrapped off from the syllabus. I don't know out of I don't know why it was scrapped off, but I think that common language can be achieved by teaching it to the young Africans. To the young Africans, straight away from school, straight away from our families. But if I think that one to be implemented also, it starts with political leadership. The top officials, the decision makers, people in government who are supposed to be making critical decisions, people in education, ministries of education, they are supposed to play a fundamental role of including one unique common language that can unite all of us. For example, Kiswahili. And taught to the young generation. And Africa is a very young, it's the youngest continent in the globe. It means that once you implement this, not far away to be already pushing for a common language and effectively uniting Africa.
Okay. We are still watching the second episode of Let's Build Africa. Before we reach Engineer Job Lazarus, I want Oscar to tell us, after accounting for this unity of Africa, tell us what have the other past generations done in their quest to unite Africa?
Well, thank you so much. Surely, the unification or unifying of Africa is something that has not started yesterday or today. It has actually been in existence. And we can trace that back then in 1963 when African member countries went to Ethiopia in Addis Ababa to start something that was referred then as an Organization of Africa's Unity, Organization of Africa's
OAU.
Unity, OAU. And it kept on pushing for ideals, things that they hope a unified Africa should have. But there wasn't any will of implementation. Several conventions would sit every year, I think around September, and they just discuss about ideals of what they think Africa, a unified Africa, should be. But there couldn't be any follow-up of implementation. And later on, actually around 1999, that OAU, I think it was dissolved, and it was taken over around in 2002 by African Union, which is currently reigning, to try to implement the ideas. But still, it is the same problem that's going on, discussing of ideal case scenarios, but failing to start the stepping, failing to try the starting point, or to implement those ideals that are always being talked about. Another attempt to actually unify Africa, I've seen that it has been tried through unified military forces. They are called unified military forces for special duties. But that one has not been achieved on a continental scale. It's just regional. East African standby force, ECOWAS standby force, and so on. So for that, it has been mainly aimed at creating stability in the every time there erupts a regional misunderstanding or some civil conflicts. It is those standby forces, regional but not continental, that have been drafted or that have been formed, but it's also not properly implemented across the entire continent. So the only thing which has been so far, the only two attempts I've so far tried to actually see is that African Union, as well as trying to unify military forces, okay. But nothing else has so far been done.
Mr. Job Lazarus, Oscar has raised a number of issues, among which was the need to adopt Swahili as a common language. But then we know that there is another language that is spoken by a third of countries of Africa, that is Arabic. Do you think when we choose to adopt another language, do you think our culture is not affected?
Well, throughout the ages, culture has always evolved with time. So whether you like it or not, culture will always evolve. But the issue of Africa adopting one language is a very tricky one. And this is what may not be achieved very soon. Because we have over 1,000 languages in Africa. Uganda alone has over 50. South Africa over 60. So to get just one single language out of all these languages and start teaching everyone in the continent, this is a very, very tricky venture. But it is possible.
It's possible.
Yeah, but then we need to focus on, we need to look at it in two areas. What are the costs and what are the benefits? We need to weigh the two. It will be difficult, yes, but with time, okay, the benefits will outweigh the costs.
Okay, thank you.
It is like planting a tree. When you're planting a tree, you don't eat the fruits today. You need to water the tree, take care of the tree until it bears fruits, and then you can eat the fruits when they're ready.
Okay, thank you. The Oscar Kayanja has also raised a number of items. You as well talked of a need to unite Africa. You define unity of Africa in your own language and so forth. And Oscar has raised attempts by OAU, common military force, and so forth. What do you think are some of their successes and the failures of these attempts? And how can we progress to the next?
Very beautiful question. Now, when you look at the African struggle for independence, right from those days, our forefathers have preached the need for Africa to be united. In 1963, Kwame Nkrumah said, the people of Africa are crying for unity. We must unite now or perish. That was when they were founding the OAU in Addis Ababa. Patrice Lumumba of Congo, when he was speaking in Leopoldville, which is now Kinshasa, the capital of DRC, he said, African unity and solidarity are no longer dreams. They must be expressed in decisions. Julius Nyerere of Tanzania said, without unity, Africa has no future. When you go to Mozambique, Samora Machel, the first president, said unity and victory are synonymous. Now, all these forefathers preached the same thing, unity.
Unity.
All of them, they were right-hearted and they couldn't wait to see a united Africa. But then when Africa got independence, some of them became divided. The leaders became divided. They did not speak one language because some of them...
divided on principles?
Not principles. On different areas.
Okay.
Some of them got used to power. They wanted to be in power for long, so the idea of uniting Africa, they didn't buy it. That's why these forefathers kept singing, kept preaching the gospel until they died. But then again, their efforts led to the independence of the continent. We were able to regain our independence from our colonial masters. I remember when Kwame Nkrumah was speaking in Accra, when Ghana gained her independence, he said the independence of Ghana means nothing if the other countries are not independent. So they had to work so hard to make sure other countries also regain their independence. This is a man who had a great vision for Africa. Now, these people also, I wouldn't say they failed in their attempts, but they had their weaknesses, but also they did a lot for Africa. You know, uniting Africa is a generational struggle. It is one generation hands over to the next. They did their part. Now this is our time now to do our part. They had their weaknesses, but they didn't really fail completely. They did something. They laid the foundation upon which we are now raising the world. So it is our work now to raise the world. For them, they laid the foundation.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, viewers. We are still on a second episode of Let's Build Africa, Priana TV. We are going for a short commercial break. Continue following Priana TV. Thank you so much.
Priana TV. Watch all you want.
Welcome back from a short commercial break. We are still Priana TV for the second edition of Let's Build Africa. With me here are two guests, Mr. Oscar Kayanja, an innovator, researcher, engineer, and then to my left is Job Lazarus Okello. He's an author, he's a researcher, he's a Pan-Africanist, a man with so many titles. And I'm still the show host, Norbert Onen II. Getting back to you, Oscar Kayanja, what are the current reasons that make us Africa not to be united?
In my own observation, the political environment today in Africa, it's one of the core reasons why Africa is disunited. To throw some more light on that, I wonder why it is a must for every country, most countries, to have partisan politics as a means to deliver rule of law and governance to their own people. That has brought a lot of disunity to the family level. You find the husband is supporting one party, political party. The wife is supporting another political party. The children are supporting also their own party. Once there is any political contestation, especially when it comes to election time, gender-based violences increase in most African environments. We have
Getting to that, how would we choose leaders in Africa without political contestations?
I would think that yes, a credible leader is God chosen, and it would surely be a better option to choose a leader rather than a politician. And to me, I think that a credible leader, even without partisan politics, can surely be appointed by the people of the land without this partisan politics. Because this partisan politics is aimed at keeping people in disunity, in contestations, always arguing. There is Africa, yes, is blessed with a high population of youth, but many youths in Africa today just keep discussing political contestations, political parties, and just discussing political figures. In that, they keep fighting with each other, clashing with each other, sometimes even making their colleagues lose lives. So, partisan politics in Africa has created more disunity. And I strongly believe that a credible leader, I might be misquoted, but I think you look at China, is there any political contestations between this party and this party? Compare its economy with Africa, where they have partisan politics. Where is China and where is Africa? So also there is disunity amongst tribes, sectarianism. Africa is found of, it's actually a place where many people are believers to the core, especially mostly to the foreign languages, foreign religions which were not indigenously in Africa. But some people get hold too tightly on them to the extent of eliminating fellow African friends. So sectarianism is also another way in which Africans have been divided.
Oh, thank you so much. Mr. Job Lazarus.
Yes, please.
Quoting from Oscar, youth in Africa are always discussing politics. And the youth are being told that they are the leaders of the of tomorrow. If they don't discuss politics now, how will they be leaders?
Good question. Now, I think we need to understand two things here clearly. Politics and leadership. What we have in Africa, we have more politicians than leaders. Yet we need leaders. We don't actually need any politician. Because politics will not solve any problem. Politics creates problems, leadership solves them. Now, in Africa, the average youth are always discussing politics instead of leadership. Because what we need is actually not politics. So that means any attempt to discuss politics is time wasting. We should spend that time in discussing leadership. How we can raise good leaders, and then what kind of people do we need to lead us. And we need to draw a clear line between politics and leadership. Only when that is done shall we be able to elect leaders instead of politicians.
Apart from what Oscar Kayanja said of partisan politics and heterogeneous nature of our society, do you think there are other reasons that make us as Africa not to be united?
Well, we need to go back to the foundation of the whole thing. Where does unity begin from? Where is it supposed to begin from? Before we even talk about uniting Africa, we need to go back to the family. Families make nations. Nations make continents. And continents make the world. Now, when you go to the family, and in a typical African family, are people united in that family? Can people come together to fight against a common cause in the family? This is not the case in most African families. Now, it is the same disunity in the family that goes to the nation. The same goes to the continent. Now, if we really want to unite the continent, we need to start from the families. Because the families are disunited, it's difficult to unite the nations and then the continent. Now, like I said before, where there is no central uniting factor, individualism prevails and unity is not possible. We shall never unite until we define that common cause that we can all come together for. Because for unity to take place, there must be a common cause. So look at a family. Look at a typical family. If there is no common cause, no unity. So I think the biggest cause of disunity in Africa, in any part of the world, is lack of a common cause, or when that cause is not properly defined. So that a given people do not know what they stand for.
Who defines this cause?
The people. You should know what you want as a people. Because as Africans, we are supposed to know what we want. In a family, every family should know what they want, what they stand for as a family, collectively as a family. So the same way a nation should know what the people stand for as a nation, which is the same way the African continent should know what we stand for as Africans.
There are six continents or more. I've not heard of efforts to have maybe one language for European Union, one language for Asia, and so forth, and even one currency and so forth. So what are you trying? What are you people creating? Whatever you are creating, are you not creating enclaves within the world? Because if Africa is to just look at it as African Union, Europe as European Union, Asia maybe as Asian something, does that bring global unity really?
Well, the reason why the Europeans were able to colonize us is because they were united in their conquest of Africa. When they sat in Berlin in 1884 and 1885 for 2 solid months in the Berlin Conference, they came together to partition Africa. That's the root cause of all African problems. The reason why we are actually disunited today, the root goes back to the Berlin Conference. Now, they succeeded in colonizing Africa because they were united. So there is no way we can succeed in any endeavor without unity. Uniting Africa does not necessarily mean we need to have one language, no, or maybe one currency, no. But we need to have a common purpose. That's the most important thing. Yeah. When it comes to business, what do we want as Africa? We need to define that. The agenda must be clear. But when you read the Agenda 2063, the visionary document written by the African Union, it sets out clearly what the continent wants to achieve by 2063. But if you look at the efforts on the ground, we are very far from doing what we are supposed to be doing.
So you have emphasized on the need of common purpose. And indeed, there is Agenda 2063. And in it, there are a lot of very important areas that have been raised. Gun must be silent, Africa must be united, and so forth and so forth. Now, can't that be the purpose that you are advocating for?
Well, when you look at that document, how that document came into existence, the whole process was purely political. So it is like putting food on the table, then everybody is coming to fight for that food. How much can I take? So that's what happened when they came with the document. The spirit behind the document is wrong. If they meant what they said in the document, why can't they come together to do what they defined in the document? I've never heard of the countries coming together. Again, it's just one in that very document. Why can they not come together? They are divided. Why? Because the politicians have different interests. Some of them want to stay in power for forever. Some want to rule only for like 2 terms. So how can these people come together when they have different interests? So everybody wants to maximize the opportunities which are presented in the document. So that document cannot be the common purpose for Africa because the spirit behind it is wrong.
Oscar Kayanja, Job Lazarus raised a number of, or his opinion. I want to know your take on why do you think we should create African Union, yet we should try to unite Africa, yet we have other continents as well.
Thank you so much again. I strongly believe that uniting Africa should be actually done by Africans. And uniting Africa comes along with very many benefits for Africans. To just throw some more light on that, I'm the person who believes that even post-colonialism, Africa is still under capture by colonial powers. They keep, they are the sole people who have actually ensured that Africa stays disunited for the sole purpose of perhaps their own individual interests. That's why you find that even when there is a country which is engulfed by enormous corruption, you see foreign governments pumping in more money to that corrupt system, to that corrupt government. So unifying Africa can eliminate all such kind of evil-rooted people and ensure that resources are evenly distributed amongst all Africans. On another strong point, unification of Africa will make Africans free. Africans free from actually free in decision making, because at the moment when there is a small land wrangle in any state or any territorial wrangle, issues are negotiated from foreign countries. You have to trust the leaders, a few, just selected few individuals politicians actually, go in those foreign countries to negotiate borders for Africa. Sincerely. So freedom, Africans will gain freedom to make autonomous decisions of their own, for their own people. Then they will also have control over their own resources. At the moment, Africa is being used as a mining ground for many resources, gold, diamond, there are so many, which are actually supporting many factories around the world and many technologies. Okay? It is believed that 90% of smartphones around the world are just they are surviving on minerals extracted from DRC Congo. And if you see that space, it is ever in civil disruption, civil wars. If it's not a civil war, there erupts a pandemic, something like that, a lot of chaos going on. So, unifying Africa and having a common cause, a common purpose, chasing after one common dream, will actually enable Africans to have a say on their own resources. And even in the utilization of those resources, they will have a say to actually trade them. While they are trading them with foreign powers, they will have a negotiating power. Talk about numbers. Most foreign powers which are so powerful use sometimes numbers to defend themselves, even if it's for markets. The goods they manufacture in their local area can be consumed by their numbers at home. So with a unified Africa, whichever raw materials, whichever goods, whichever agricultural products are produced from Africa, we can have the numbers to actually consume them locally and also have negotiating power to actually negotiate for prices abroad. But at the moment, still disunited, it keeps just working for the foreign powers, just making them more powerful and just weakening Africa.
Our viewers, we are still on the second edition of Let's Be All Africa, Priyana TV. Mr. Job Lazarus, you are really very outspoken in issues of unity of Africa. Whose role is it to unite Africa?
It is our noble role. It's our noble duty as Africans to unite ourselves. Nobody will come from any place and unite us. We have to come together ourselves. It's everybody's duty. Everyone has to play a part. So if we leave some people out, we shall never be united. We need everybody on board. Everyone has to play a part. There's no way some people can be left behind and we will still be united. No, not possible. Our unity is our responsibility as Africans. We must come together and make sure we unite. Nobody will do that for us. It's our responsibility, our collective responsibility.
Now, when such efforts have been there and they have not been enforced, how do you bring everyone on?
The attempts to bring Africans together have proved fertile because we believe in different things. So there is nothing that can bring us together, like I said before. If we don't have that which can bring us together, we can never come together. Even Jesus said, two people cannot work together unless they agree. So what is that point of agreement? Is what we need to define.
What is that point of agreement?
We need to define. Then we can come together.
We are still on second edition of Let's Be All Africa. With us here are our two guests, Oscar Kayanja and Job Lazarus. We are heading for a short commercial break. See you after the break.
Priyana TV. Watch all you want. Priyana TV. Watch all you want.
Welcome back, viewers. We are still on the second edition of Let's Be All Africa. I'm with two young Pan-Africanists. We are still talking about unity of Africa. Starting with you, Mr. Oscar Kayanja.
Yes.
Do you see really benefits of uniting Africa?
I'm so much privileged to again share some opinions towards what I personally think that could be merits towards a unified Africa. There is an issue of prevalent civil wars in all African regions. Clashes about territories, clashes about ethnicities, tribalism, tribes, or against as a result of religions. Such civil conflicts will all be history when there is a unified Africa. So how will it be achieved? There will be a common military force ensuring that there is peace all over the continent. Not just mere peace, regional peace, or yes, some efforts have been earlier made of regional forces, but a continental unified military force would ensure that there is peace all over the continent and there would be no more civil conflicts, civil wars. Then also, another main benefit would actually be numbers. 1.2 billion people is actually a good number to consume products being locally made from home. And by that I mean the agricultural products, which are normally generated from the African continent. These so-called colonial boundaries have an issue. Of recent, a country had an enormous production of maize, but due to some few regional glitches with its neighboring countries, the price of maize dropped and farmers lost terribly, and they couldn't sell that agricultural product beyond the colonial borders. But in a unified Africa, that can be all history. You can have a common market, having numbers consuming the local products, and as well having negotiating power with the number. Imagine in this current state, there is no way, even if I normally see heads of state of our current African countries signing memorandum of understandings. A president of a population of around 30 million people signing a memorandum of understanding with another president of 1.4 billion people. I wonder how they can negotiate things to do with markets where you can have a matching or a common point of negotiation in such a scenario. But in a unified Africa, 1.2 billion, a leader leading 1.2 billion can very well negotiate with another leader leading 1.4 billion people. Maybe also lastly, I would like to say that a unified Africa is an Africa where it's an Africa where there is social unity, and this I've seen it in every time you are in a foreign land, let me say beyond African borders. Whenever you meet a fellow African, irrespective of whichever country he comes from, you feel like this is a brother, this is a sister. So that social unity, irrespective of ethnicities, irrespective of religions or whatever, every African can feel a sense of ownership. And that's why sometimes the existing disunity actually keeps scaring away Africans who actually moved to foreign lands. But if they see there is a unified Africa, they can all come back home feeling that ownership of that a unified social continent, a continent unified socially. So there can also be that social unity. Everyone feeling I belong to this without, irrespective of any. So that can only be achieved in a unified Africa.
Taking away blame from colonial injustice, must we really keep blaming colonialism for our disunity?
Well, whenever someone is playing a blame game, just when they have lost a game, so we cannot and we should not continue playing the blame game, because we will always lose that game. Now, when the former UK MP, George Galloway, was speaking to Arab audience, he told the Arabs that the Arabs can unite anytime they want. They shouldn't blame the West. They should not blame the US for their disunity. They are responsible for their disunity. In the same way, Africans are not united because we don't want to unite. We are responsible for our disunity, and we should also be responsible for our unity, without blaming anyone. The US cannot stop us from uniting. Europe can never stop us from uniting. They cannot. We can only stop ourselves from uniting. So we should not blame anyone for our disunity, but we should own our irresponsibility as Africans and then make up for the irresponsibility.
Oscar Kayanja, should we own our irresponsibility?
I strongly agree, and it starts right now. I strongly believe as an African that this is a moment of action, actually implementation. Every time an African identifies a small problem in whichever community they are, should be the very first person to take a step to solve that issue.
Thank you so much. And viewers, we are coming towards the end of this discussion. That is the second edition of Let's Build Africa. Mr. Oscar Kayanja, I'm going to give you 1 minute to give your final message to Africa.
Thank you so much for this discussion. You've really been a very good moderator, and I strongly believe that unifying of Africa is a dream that we can achieve in this generation. We can no longer play blame games. We can no longer keep waiting for other people to redeem us. No, it's right here, right now. It's this time, it's in this generation that we are going to come up with the implementation. No more talking, but implementing what we actually feel that the unified Africa should be. So, to all the youths out there, inclusive of myself, implementation and doing the real work. And what's that? Identifying any simple problem in whichever humble way possible and trying to do something about it. Not complaining or blaming the government or waiting for the government, but you should try as an individual to do something about it. And also, unification of Africa should start from our families. It should be the role of every family head to teach his family about the unity of Africa, Pan-Africanism, the love for Africa.
Oh, thank you so much. Job Lazarus, what is your last message to Africa?
Well, Bob Marley sang in his song Africa Unite that how wonderful it would, how good and pleasant it would be before God and man to see the unification of all Africans. It's a very deep statement. Our strength as Africans lies in our unity, and our weakness lies in our disunity. So the unity must begin from the families. The families must unite, then the nations will unite, and eventually the continent will unite. If the families cannot unite, the nations will not unite, and we will never achieve any unity in the continent. Unity is said to be strength. Unity is power. Unity is all we need. So it is the role of everyone, no matter where they come from, no matter what they do. It is our collective responsibility to unite ourselves as Africans. Without unity, we have no future.
Oh,
It's a very nice experience for Africans to come together to solve their problems. Because history has shown that for any people to solve their problems, they need to come together. Nobody will come from any place and do for us what we're supposed to do for ourselves as Africans. So, and if we must solve our problems, then we need to unite. There is no wisdom in staying disunited, yet at the same time we want to solve our problems. It is not possible to solve any problem if we cannot come together. Our strength as a people lies in our unity. We are only as strong as we are united, and as weak as we are divided. As long as we are divided, we shall never prosper as a people. Our prosperity depends on our unity.
thank you so much, Job Lazarus. We are coming towards the end of this second edition of Let's Build Africa. We had our two guests, Job Lazarus Okello, an author, a researcher, engineer, innovator, Pan-Africanist, and a social entrepreneur, as well as Oscar Kayanja, an innovator, an engineer, researcher, and a Pan-Africanist. It's been nice hosting you people again. This is Priana TV. Let's Build Africa. See you for the other editions. Thank you.